Canada has a brand. The brand is politeness, universal healthcare, and the quiet confidence of a country that gets to watch the United States from a safe distance and feel measured about itself. The brand is so effective that most people outside Canada cannot name a single dangerous Canadian city. They can name a dozen dangerous American ones without pausing. The Canadian ones they cannot name because the conversation does not happen. Which is interesting, because the conversation should happen. The Statistics Canada Crime Severity Index ranks cities the way a thermometer reads a fever. It does not guess, it measures. And what it measures in certain Canadian cities is a crime rate that, adjusted for population, exceeds the rates recorded in cities Americans actively warn each other about. North Battleford, Saskatchewan, has a Crime Severity Index that has sat above 500 in recent measured years, 5 times the national average. You probably did not know that. You probably have never heard of North Battleford. That is part of what makes this list worth making. This is not a list designed to perform concern about places that are already struggling, or to reduce complicated human geographies to a single alarming number. It is a list about what crime statistics actually measure, which is always more complicated than the number itself. Every city on this list is dangerous for a reason. The reason is never random. The reason is always specific, and understanding the reason is the only way to understand what kind of danger you are actually reading about. We are starting at number 10. By the time we reach number 1, you will know exactly what I mean. Number 10 is Prince George, British Columbia. Prince George is a mid-sized resource city about 800 kilometers northeast of Vancouver, which is a distance that functions as a market signal in the Canadian real estate conversation. The city sits at the confluence of the Fraser and Nechako rivers at an elevation that produces winters serious enough to discourage people who moved there for reasons other than work or roots. The Crime Severity Index for Prince George typically lands between 140 and 160, which is roughly 2 to 2.5 times the national average. The specific crime profile is property crime and drug-related offenses concentrated in the downtown core. The violent crime rate is elevated, but the distribution matters. It is not spread evenly across the city. It follows predictable geography and predictable demographics, which is a pattern this list will return to repeatedly and which is the single most important thing to understand about urban crime statistics in Canada. Here is what Prince George also is. It is a city where a 3-bedroom house can be purchased for $270,000. The surrounding wilderness is accessible, serious, and genuinely spectacular in the way that interior BC wilderness is spectacular without being organized for tourism. There is a university. There is a regional hospital. The economy is forestry and services and enough government employment to create genuine stability for people who live inside the economic mainstream. The crime rate is real. It is also almost entirely concentrated in a specific corridor that does not intersect with the daily life of most residents in the ways the Crime Severity Index alone would suggest. Picture this. It is November and the temperature is -8 and there is 4 inches of fresh snow on the ground, and the light at 4 in the afternoon is the specific deep orange that only happens at this latitude in late autumn. Your mortgage payment is $940 a month. The downtown is a 12-minute drive. The catch arrives somewhere in that 12-minute stretch, which is when you pass through the corridor. It is impossible not to notice the corridor. Every Prince George resident notices the corridor. What they do with that noticing is a decision that belongs to them and not to the statistic. Prince George's crime is visible because it is geographically concentrated. The next entry is a city where the crime surprised people precisely because the branding suggested something different and the price suggested something aspirational. Number 9 is Kelowna, British Columbia. Kelowna's reputation is wine country, lake views, and a demographic that arrived from Alberta during the boom years, looking for a retirement that felt like a reward. The marketing worked. The population grew rapidly and continuously. And the growth attracted something the tourism photography did not mention, which is that rapid population growth in a city with a constrained housing supply and a drug supply chain that routes through Vancouver creates specific conditions. The Crime Severity Index for Kelowna has climbed steadily to sit between 130 and 155 in recent years. Property crime is the dominant category. Theft, vehicle break-ins, commercial robberies, the crimes of a city where income disparity exists in visible form because the wealth and the poverty are both present and both legible from the same street corner. The lake is real. The wine is real. The summers deliver more sunshine hours than almost anywhere else in Canada. A median home price that, while elevated by British Columbia standards, is still roughly 40% below what comparable geography would cost in coastal markets. The outdoor recreation is legitimate and varied and accessible from the urban center in ways that most Canadian cities envy. Kelowna is genuinely pleasant to live in for a specific kind of person, and that person needs to understand that the pleasant and the problem occupy the same physical space more than the winery photography suggests. It is July, and the temperature is 31 degrees, and you are on a patio that looks directly west over Okanagan Lake, and the light on the water in the late afternoon is the kind of light people relocate provinces for. Your two-bedroom rental is $2,100 a month, a kilometer from the water, which you consider reasonable by the standards of the market you came from. The catch is that the street 2 blocks from your apartment has had 4 commercial break-ins in the past month. The picturesque and the problem are not in different parts of Kelowna. In many neighborhoods, they are in different parts of the same block, and that proximity does not resolve itself through property values alone. Kelowna's crime is the crime of visible wealth and visible poverty sharing, compressed geography. Saskatoon's crime is different in its origins and in its shape, and different in the way it arrived without Kelowna's aspirational framing to absorb the shock. Number 8 is Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Saskatoon does not have Kelowna's marketing problem because Saskatoon has never successfully convinced a large number of people from outside Saskatchewan that it is aspirational real estate, which is part of why it stays affordable and part of why the crime conversation gets less national attention than it probably deserves. The Crime Severity Index for Saskatoon runs between 125 and 145. Violent crime and property crime are both elevated above the national average. Vehicle theft in Saskatoon reached a rate in recent years that the insurance industry responded to by raising premiums specifically and publicly. The vehicle theft numbers are not incidental to the broader crime picture. They are diagnostic of a specific organized supply chain that connects Saskatoon to a network of professional property crime that operates at a scale most people associate with larger cities. Saskatoon has a university. It has a river running through the center of the city in a way that urban planners would pay consultants significant money to replicate in cities that do not have it organically. The restaurant culture punches above its weight for a city of 300,000 people. The median home price sits around $330,000, which makes it competitive with prairie comparables and significantly cheaper than anything west of it. The downtown is real and is functioning. The economy extends beyond agriculture into technology and services in forms that are early but genuine. The catch in Saskatoon is that the crime is not contained to a single identifiable corridor the way it is in Prince George. It is distributed in a way that makes it harder to mentally partition from daily life. Picture this. It is March, and the temperature is -22, and you have started your car remotely from inside your apartment because you learned that practice by the end of your first winter here, and the engine is warm before you put your coat on. Your mortgage is $1,080 a month. The car is there when you reach the parking lot. Today, it is there. That relief is also a data point, and it is worth sitting with briefly before you pull out onto 8th Street. In Saskatoon, the elevated crime follows patterns of organized theft. In Thunder Bay, the crime is more personal in its origins and more historically grounded in its causes, and it has received more sustained national attention for reasons that are worth examining directly. Number 7 is Thunder Bay, Ontario. Thunder Bay is a city of 112,000 people at the northwestern tip of Lake Superior, which is a geographic fact that also functions as an economic biography. It is far from everything that drives contemporary Canadian GDP. It is a former resource extraction hub that the full weight of the resource economy partially departed, leaving a city-sized infrastructure in place for an economy that no longer fills it at original capacity. The Crime Severity Index for Thunder Bay is reliably among the highest in Ontario, sitting between 150 and 175 in recent measured years. The violent crime numbers are elevated in ways that cannot be explained by property crime patterns alone. The specific context here is Indigenous poverty, the historical and ongoing underfunding of social services in the region, and the geographic reality of Thunder Bay serving as a hub city for a vast northern territory with few alternative service centers, no transit connections, and no equivalent infrastructure. Thunder Bay has Lake Superior, which is a geographic asset that no municipal budget could purchase and no marketing campaign fully conveys until you are standing at its edge in September. The housing market reflects the economic history, a median home price around $280,000 for a city with genuine waterfront access. There is healthcare employment, there is a university, there is a port. The city produces a specific kind of resilience in the people who stay, which is either admirable adaptation or a coping mechanism you name differently depending on who you are talking to and when. Picture this. It is September and the lake is doing the thing it does in September, which is producing a quality of light that makes every photograph look deliberately processed in a way it was not. Your house costs $243,000. The walk to the waterfront is 8 minutes, and on the waterfront, the scale of the water rewrites whatever you thought the word lake meant. The catch is that the walk passes through blocks where the visible evidence of poverty, addiction, and inadequate housing is not background context. It is the foreground. In Thunder Bay, unlike in Prince George, that is not a problem specific to one corridor. It is distributed through the city in ways that the provincial and national conversation about Thunder Bay has been forced to address because the evidence is public and persistent. Thunder Bay's crime exists at the intersection of geography, economic legacy, and decades of underinvestment in the population the city serves as a regional hub. Regina's crime profile shares some of those elements but arrives in a different configuration and at a different scale. Number 6 is Regina, Saskatchewan. Regina is the provincial capital of Saskatchewan, which means it carries the stability of government employment, a functioning institutional downtown, and an economy diversified enough that no single industry contraction causes a municipal crisis. It also has a crime severity index that typically runs between 160 and 180, which is nearly double the national average and higher than Thunder Bay, despite the apparent stability of its economic base. Regina's crime profile includes both elevated property crime and elevated violent crime, and the violent crime rate for a city of 250,000 is a number that requires specific contextualization to read accurately. The context is a history of racialized poverty, housing inadequacy, and a relationship between policing and the indigenous population of the city that has generated independent provincial inquiry and documented public findings. Regina has the most affordable housing of any provincial capital in Canada. Median home price around $320,000. Government employment creates genuine middle-class stability for a substantial portion of the population. There is a university. There is a growing technology sector in the early stages of producing real employment. The Rough Riders have a cultural function in this city that is difficult to overstate to anyone who has not witnessed it. Regina works for a large portion of its population. The catch is that it demonstrably does not work for another portion of its population, and the geographic and demographic line between those two groups is more complicated than a single neighborhood boundary, and more entrenched than a political cycle can resolve. Picture this. It is February, and it is -30, and the city is flat and completely white, in a way that either reads as a specific prairie bleakness or as a clarity you did not know you needed, depending entirely on who you are and how long you have lived there. Your mortgage is $960 a month for a 4-bedroom house, 4 kilometers from the legislature. The heat works. The job is stable. The problem, for your neighbor 3 streets to the west, involves none of those things being true in the same combination. That distance of 3 streets is the catch in Regina. It is the specific distance between 2 cities that share one border and one Crime Severity Index number, and very little else. Regina demonstrates that government stability and elevated violent crime are not mutually exclusive conditions. Winnipeg demonstrates what that combination looks like when it scales to the size of a major metropolitan center. Number 5 is Winnipeg, Manitoba. Winnipeg is the largest city on this list, and the only one with a genuine metropolitan profile. Nearly 800,000 people, a diversified economy, an arts and cultural sector with real institutional weight, a downtown undergoing active and visible revival investment, and an NHL team that returned after years away and stabilized into the fabric of the city. The Crime Severity Index for Winnipeg runs between 140 and 165, which sounds moderate relative to other cities on this list until you translate it to absolute numbers for a city of this size. The violent crime statistics for specific categories, carjacking, gang-related homicides, and aggravated assaults in targeted North End and West End corridors, have placed Winnipeg in national media coverage repeatedly over the past 5 years. The carjacking rate in particular reached a level that generated specific public awareness campaigns and insurance industry responses. These are not background statistics for Winnipeg residents. They are operational realities for people who live in specific parts of the city. Winnipeg also has a median home price that sits around $370,000, which makes it the most affordable major Canadian city for homebuyers with any connection to the central or western regions of the country. The Canadian Museum for Human Rights, the Winnipeg Art Gallery's Quomajuk building, the Exchange District's stock of preserved historic architecture, and an elm tree canopy that survives at a scale virtually no other North American city can claim, are not promotional talking points. They are the actual city available to anyone who moves there. The catch is the same catch as Regina's, but operating at metropolitan scale, concentrated in corridors where the gap between the functioning and non-functioning versions of the city is geographic and visible, and not easily bridged by proximity to the museum district. Picture this. It is October, and the elm trees along Wolseley Avenue are producing the color they produce in the second week of October, which is the kind of color that does not usually happen in a city without someone planning it. Your mortgage is $1,200 a month. The Exchange District is a 10-minute drive in light traffic. Then it is 7:45 on a Wednesday morning, and someone attempts to take your car at the light on Main and Selkirk, and the statistical category that Winnipeg occupies in the national carjacking data is no longer a statistic. That is not a manufactured scenario. That is a lived experience for a percentage of Winnipeg commuters that the Crime Severity Index, for all its limitations, is accurately measuring. Winnipeg's scale gives its crime a visibility that smaller prairie cities do not generate. Red Deer's crime arrived through a different mechanism and surprised a city that had not fully modeled what economic volatility leaves behind after the extraction is done. Number 4 is Red Deer, Alberta. Red Deer sits between Calgary and Edmonton on Highway 2, which means it has historically functioned as a service center for both cities' industrial operations, the oil and gas sector to the north and northwest, the agricultural economy in every other direction. The economy brought workers. The boom and bust cycle of the petroleum industry brought boom-time spending and bust-time economic despair in alternating waves with intervals short enough that the infrastructure built during one phase was still in use when the social consequences of the next phase arrived. The Crime Severity Index for Red Deer now runs between 170 and 190. For a city of 110,000 people, that concentration represents something that the demographic sheet alone does not predict if you are reading it without the economic history underneath it. Red Deer has the outdoor access that central Alberta geography provides. The Red Deer River and its valley trail system, proximity to the Rockies at distances that remain practical for day trips, and a cost of living that reflects neither Calgary pricing nor Edmonton pricing in a region where both of those reference points are familiar. Median home price around $390,000. The industrial employment base still exists in forms that survived the most recent bust. The city is not economically dying. The catch is that the drug supply chain that expanded to service the oil patch during the boom years did not contract when the boom ended. It stayed, adapted to the available market, and created a specific public health and public safety crisis that Red Deer's municipal resources were not scaled to manage at the volume it reached. Picture this. It is June, and the light is still useful at 9:30 in the evening, and the river trail is the kind of municipal asset that cities spend decades building plans to create. Your mortgage is $1,240 a month. The trail is quiet at 8 in the morning. Then you drive downtown on a Thursday evening, and the specific geography of what the Crime Severity Index is measuring becomes visible in a way the river trail does not prepare you for. Red Deer is two cities. The river valley and the residential neighborhoods and the version that would appear in a Chamber of Commerce presentation are one city. The downtown core at specific hours is another city entirely. The median home price reflects one of them. The Crime Severity Index reflects both in a single number. Red Deer's crime followed an economic cycle that was visible in advance and addressed in hindsight. Lethbridge's crime followed the same cycle and then continued accelerating after the cycle that initiated it had already passed. Number 3 is Lethbridge, Alberta. Lethbridge has a university. It has some of the most productive agricultural land in Canada in its surrounding territory. It has a population of 105,000 people and a crime severity index that runs between 210 and 240, more than 3 times the national average. That number requires a second reading the first time you encounter it. The specific driver in Lethbridge is drug-related crime, and the drug is principally methamphetamine. And the reason the methamphetamine problem in Lethbridge reached the scale it reached is a combination of factors that include a prolonged and unresolved debate about harm reduction infrastructure, a geographic position as a distribution corridor between the U.S. border and northern Alberta, and a visible homelessness population that grew faster than the social services built to address it were funded to accommodate. Lethbridge has a median home price around $350,000. The weather is among the most moderate of any prairie city. The Chinook winds that arrive in winter and can raise the temperature by 20 degrees in 2 hours are a quality of life feature that does not appear in real estate listings, but is experienced by residents as a genuine advantage over comparable latitudes. The coulées that run through and around the city are dramatic landforms that most Canadians who have not visited Lethbridge do not know exist. The city functions for people whose lives are organized around the university, the agricultural economy, and the service sector. The catch is that the portion of the city that does not function has been publicly visible, documented in local and national media, and debated at City Council for years without producing an intervention that has measurably moved the Crime Severity Index. Picture this. It is a Chinook day in January, and it is 11 degrees and sunny, and the light is the specific bright that happens when a prairie sky clears completely after a cold snap, and you are aware of the mountains to the west, even though you cannot see them because the warmth is traveling from that direction. Your mortgage is $1,100 a month. The drive downtown takes 7 minutes. The encampment you pass on the north side of the route downtown has been there for 14 months. It will be there tomorrow. The Crime Severity Index is not an abstraction in Lethbridge. It has a specific address. You drive past that address on the way to work, and the question the commute asks every morning is whether a city can hold two simultaneous realities for an indefinite period without one of them changing the other. Lethbridge's crisis is specific, documented, and ongoing. The next two entries are different in scale. Smaller cities, higher concentrations, fewer municipal resources, and a national conversation that has not given them the sustained attention their numbers would generate if they were located in a province with more political weight. Number 2 is Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. Prince Albert is a city of 41,000 people in north-central Saskatchewan, and the Crime Severity Index for Prince Albert runs between 350 and 410. The national average is 100. That ratio is not a misprint, and it is not a single bad year. Prince Albert has 3 correctional facilities within its municipal boundary or immediate vicinity, federal and provincial institutions whose populations cycle through the city's housing market and social services at a volume that a city of 41,000 was not designed to absorb and has never been fully resourced to accommodate. The city has also historically functioned as a service hub for northern Saskatchewan's remote Indigenous communities, whose residents arrive seeking medical care, housing, and services in a city that has never received provincial funding calibrated to the scale of what it is actually asked to provide. The violent crime rate in Prince Albert is the output of specific policy decisions and specific funding gaps that have been named in provincial reports and addressed in insufficient ways for decades. Prince Albert has the North Saskatchewan River running through it in a way that produces terrain and light that belong in a different conversation than the one the Crime Severity Index creates. The housing market reflects the economic reality honestly. Median home prices around $220,000, which is among the lowest for any Canadian city of comparable size. There is forestry employment. There is a regional hospital. The economy supports the residents whose lives are organized around the employment mainstream. The catch is that Prince Albert has a percentage of its population for whom the employment mainstream is not a functioning option, and that percentage is large enough relative to the total population to shape the city's statistics in ways that touch everyone regardless of their personal economic situation. Picture this. It is August, and the North Saskatchewan is high from the summer rains, and the light on the moving water at 7 in the morning is a light that asks nothing of you. Your house cost $198,000. The yard is large. The neighborhood is quiet. 2 kilometers from where you are standing, the data that produces the Crime Severity Index number is happening in real time, in the same city, under the same municipal jurisdiction, with the same underfunded infrastructure trying to manage it. The 2 kilometers is the entire biography of Prince Albert, written in geography instead of statistics, and the distance does not increase on its own. Prince Albert's numbers are extreme by any measure except the one that follows. Number 1 is North Battleford, Saskatchewan. North Battleford has a population of approximately 14,000 people and a crime severity index that has exceeded 500 in recent measured years, 5 times the national average, and a number that positions it above almost any comparably sized city in the developed world when adjusted for population. This is not an outlier year. The Crime Severity Index for North Battleford has been this elevated, with variation but without fundamental directional improvement, for over a decade. It is the most dangerous city in Canada by the widest margin, in a province that holds the top 2 positions on this list, and the causes are the ones this list has been building toward. Indigenous poverty, at a concentration that cannot be addressed by the municipal tax base of a city of 14,000, a geographic position as the regional hub for northern Saskatchewan communities that have no alternative access point for services, the presence of correctional facilities that cycle released individuals into a city with minimal reintegration infrastructure, and a drug supply chain that has not been interrupted at the scale required to change the Crime Severity Index baseline. North Battleford is also small enough that the crime is not concentrated in a distant corridor that most residents can navigate around. It is present in the way that things are present in small cities, which is to say, it is visible and proximate and unavoidable as a daily contextual fact. The median home price is approximately $170,000. There are approximately 170,000 reasons to understand why the price is that price, and a crime severity index of 500 reasons to understand exactly what the market has already calculated about the trade-off it represents. Picture this. It is a September evening, and the Battleford's Provincial Park is 40 minutes west on Highway 16, and the sky at 8 o'clock is producing the pink and violet that prairie evenings produce when there is enough moisture in the air to catch the color before the light goes. Your house cost $163,000. There are few cities in Canada where a house in that condition costs that amount. There is a reason. The reason is in the data, and you have now read the data, and the question the data does not answer is the only question that actually matters, which is this. When you look at the number, which version of this place do you see? The one the Crime Severity Index is measuring, or the one the September sky is producing? And is the version you are choosing to see the one that is actually there when you arrive? Every city on this list is cheap for a reason. The reasons are not identical. Prince George is cheap because the corridor makes people uncomfortable enough to keep the price down, even when the actual risk to most residents is geographically bounded. Kelowna is expensive by its own regional standards, but cheap relative to what the lake and the climate should theoretically command, because the property crime statistics interrupt the story the scenery is trying to tell. Thunder Bay is cheap because the geography is remote, and the economic history is complicated, and the crime is the visible consequence of what happens when a city is asked to serve a regional population that the province funds at an insufficient level. Red Deer and Lethbridge are cheap relative to the Alberta cities that surround them because an economic cycle left behind a set of consequences that the Crime Severity Index is still measuring years after the cycle that generated them has passed. North Battleford and Prince Albert are cheap because the Crime Severity Index numbers are not compatible with the housing prices that proximity to services and community and employment would otherwise generate, and the market has read those numbers accurately and priced accordingly. The distinction that matters across all of these cities is the distinction between danger that is distributed and danger that is concentrated, between crime that follows specific demographic and geographic patterns and crime that does not. That distinction does not make the danger smaller. It makes it legible in a way that a single Crime Severity Index number is not. The number tells you that something is wrong. The context tells you what is wrong, who is most affected, and whether you are the kind of person whose daily life will intersect with the pattern, or the kind of person whose daily life will sit adjacent to it. Those are different things. The market does not always distinguish between them. The Crime Severity Index definitely does not. That gap is where the actual decision lives, and it belongs to you.